By BookTrib, the leading source of book news and reviews. I'm Barbara Wilkov. I'm a member of the BookTrib team, and I am very excited to be joined today by author Karin Freeland, who is going to discuss her new book with the great title, The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, a penetrating memoir. And the title certainly gets your attention, and we're in for a great treat today. So Karin is a self-described recovering corporate workaholic. Now, in addition to being an author, she is also a speaker and a certified life coach dedicated to helping women get unstuck and live their best lives. Here are some things that have been said about Karin's new book. It's a refreshingly open and honest memoir about all things related to growing up and becoming a woman. The author's style is friendly and conversational, and you'll feel like the two of you are close friends having a girly conversation over several glasses of wine. And I have my wine glass just in case. So Karin, welcome. I am so excited to speak with you today. I feel like I already know you, so welcome.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here. And I'm so delighted by the review that you left on BookTrib for the book. You really captured the essence of it, being that conversational tone and sort of like reading a diary.
Yes.
So it was just awesome to see that. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So actually I read the book digitally, so I
Yes.
don't have a physical copy, but I know you do. So if you could, there it is. It's got such a great cover. I love it.
Thank you. It's so pretty. Honestly, it came out better than I could ever imagine. Libby Kingsbury is my designer, and she is just phenomenal. So she really did a great job capturing the essence of it.
Yeah, it looks great. I love it. So I'm actually going to jump right in and ask the question that I'm sure you get asked all the time. What made you decide to write a book about your vagina?
Sure. And so it's kind of funny because it's not like I woke up one day and was just like, I got it. I'm going to write a book about my vagina. Like, it was sort of a 12-year journey, actually. And the other thing I would say is that the book is about so much more than my vagina. So yes, I know the title can seem a little shocking or salacious, but it really is about the journey to womanhood and all the wonderful experiences and sometimes embarrassing or humiliating or gross that women have over the course of their lives with, in this case, my partner in crime, V. And it was originally a joke between my husband and I. It was his idea for me to write this book. And I talk a lot about that in chapter 30, All Lubed Up with Nowhere to Go. And
I love the chapter titles, by the way.
Thank you. Oh, I had so much fun getting creative with them. Like, that was like the funnest part of, one of the funnest parts of writing this book was just getting to name each title for each chapter. But, he said, Karin, you don't know your body. Like, this is amazing to me. Like, how clueless you are about your body. You should just write a book, call it I Don't Know My Vagina, which was the original title.
That was the original title?
Yep. And then, I was like, I don't know about that. But the more I started thinking about it, I was like, I think I actually do have a book. I think I do have a story to tell. And I started writing, but, life got in the way.
Right.
After maternity leave, I went back to work. Things got crazy again. I wrote a chapter here or there. And then it wasn't until 2019 where I went through a midlife crisis and really needed to figure out, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Like, I'm not happy here in corporate. All the money in the world isn't going to fix it. I have to do something else. And I started writing the book again. I picked it back up, and then it was like 2 years hardcore from then to publishing.
Wow. That's great. So now, as you discussed, it's about so much more than just your vagina. Actually, you mentioned V. So I'm just going to jump in here and just ask, so your vagina becomes a character in the story named V. So when did you come up with that idea? Was that like very early on, or did something happen that made you decide to do that?
Yeah, so V doesn't get introduced until part 2, and there's 8 parts to the book. So it is early on in the book, right when I'm hitting that like hormonal time between junior high and high school. Yeah. And so my editor and I actually came up with this idea during a brainstorm session to turn V into a character. I'd already written almost the first complete draft. So I had to go back. Yeah. So I had to go back in and introduce her in different ways, which was actually a really fun creative process also during writing the book. So yeah, that was not something that was an original idea when I began the story. So then I had to go back and try to figure out like, what would V say? What was V thinking? Why did I do what I did? Oh, right. V's bad idea.
Right, right. Blame it all on V.
Seriously, she's always sabotaging me.
So obviously your husband was involved in not only the story itself, living it, but also coming up with the idea of doing this as a book, but then obviously then writing the book and what's in the book. So what kind of reaction have you gotten from your friends, your family, and especially your husband now that the book is out there?
Yeah. So my husband actually went back and forth. Like he was kind of like, oh, I didn't think you were really going to do this. Are you really going to tell people that? And it was so cute because, you know, obviously I have the copy at home and he's told my boys who are 10 and 11, Mom's book is off limits. Like you guys cannot read this. So he opens up the book the other day and he starts reading something and he's like, oh, Karin, he slams the book shut and he's like, you told them about the video we made. He's like, I really wanted to support you. He's like, but I can't read this. And he just put the book down and walked out. And I was like, oh, well.
So he didn't read it before it was published. He read it after. Oh,
and he hasn't even read all of it. So I think he's just ignorance is bliss for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is fine. You know, I think friends, a lot of my friends have been like, this is so cool. I can't wait to get it. I want to read it. You know, they've been very supportive and sending me messages as they're reading it. Like, oh my gosh, this is actually really good. This is really funny. Thank you for writing this book. So there's been a lot of positive responses in that respect. You know, I think my parents are like, well, we would have preferred if you wrote a murder mystery, but like, okay. But, you know, they're like, okay, you wrote a book. Like, that's cool. I think they think it's cool that I set a goal and I accomplished it. I don't think they're in love with the content, but what are you going to do? I'm 40. So, you know.
Yeah, I know, that's great. Well, so there are truly, you know, we've all had so many embarrassing moments growing up, which I actually really enjoyed reading some of these things because I didn't always talk to my girlfriends about some of the embarrassing things. So I was happy to see that, oh, these things happen to other people too. So can you maybe share a couple of stories from the book and give people a taste of what we're talking about?
Absolutely. And I will say, you know, the driving force for me writing this book was because I don't want people to feel alone, because so much of my life I have felt alone, or I felt like I was weird, or my body was the only one that did that. Right. And in reality, we're not alone. There are millions of women experiencing this, but it's taboo. So we don't talk about it.
Right.
So pick a couple of embarrassing stories to talk about. Okay. I mean, where do I start? There's so many. But one of my favorites is me getting my period. And then I think I'm being really slick. Like I've hid it from everybody and no one's going to know that I got my period. And I'm walking around in this like diaper of a maxi pad, you know, in 7th grade going to school. And I do not properly conceal my tampons and pads in my bag. And the bus terror ends up like seeing it. And it culminates in this like all out riot on the bus of people shouting, Freeland got her period.
Oh no.
So that was pretty traumatic and embarrassing. And one of those moments where you're just like, is this my life? Like, just kill me now. Like I'm never going to recover from this like social nightmare, but like anything, it's old news the next day.
Right. People Something else takes its place.
Right. Exactly. So, you know, I survived, but it certainly wasn't fun. But I love now hearing from other women. They're always texting me like, oh, wait till you hear my first period story. Or, you know, and it really takes people back. And there's so much nostalgia that you're going to experience by reading my story.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. And then you say, oh my gosh, I thought I was alone. Right. And then you realize you're not alone. No. We should have been talking about these things more when we were young.
Yes. I think another one of the stories that I would just briefly share is when I'm a little bit older and I'm living in Miami after college and I decide to go for my first bikini wax. My one and only. It was traumatic enough. I never wanted to go back. But as she's like tearing this hot wax off of V, she's like, tells me I need other services, right? To flip over on all fours. And she would like to wax other areas of my body. And I'm like, I don't think I need that. And like, I don't really have money for extra services. Like, I don't need to be upsold at the waxing place. And she's like, no, it's included. And you should get it. And I'm like, oh God, all right. Yeah, that's me. So it's like, totally, right? And now here I am on like national Facebook, like telling everybody. But, so these were things also that I had to consider when I was writing the book, like, oh my gosh, am I really going to tell people this? This is so embarrassing. But I do it in such a way, I hope, that is really comedic and just makes you like commiserate, and you've either been through it or you can totally appreciate like how I was feeling in that moment and relate it to something else that you've gone through.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's definitely true. And so actually I'm just going to go off on an aside here a little bit. So do you find that on social media that people share their stories with you as well? Like, does this kind of open it up? Like, oh, now I can talk about these things?
A little, but honestly, most people direct message me because they're still not comfortable having that conversation in public. So I get a ton of DMs, a lot of people who've read the book that have my phone number. They like text me their stories at all hours. And so it's been fun, but yeah, I want the conversation to go beyond behind the scenes, because these are the things we want to know about. I was just posting not too long ago of me in period underwear. I got my first pair of period underwear. So I posted me in them on my Instagram, and someone else messaged me about how much they love theirs, and they actually use reusable pads. Like, they don't even use tampons because of the chemicals.
Pads?
I didn't even know they existed.
I never heard of that.
And she's like, oh, this is probably TMI. I'm like, no, this is exactly the things we need to know, because I don't know about these things because no one talks about it.
That's right.
So like, I'm hoping that through the book, and as it gets hopefully bigger and more, widespread awareness, that it will start to drive more of those conversations in the open.
Yeah, that's great. Now, so here's an interesting question kind of going along with this. Were there any things that you decided to not include in the book, or do you have it all out there?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a couple of things that I'm taking to the grave, but there were things that I did actually write that I thought were going to be in the book that we ended up cutting later, predominantly because of length. So like, I just have a lot of stories, and my editor was like, we got to cut this book. He's like, you can't have a 500-page book. It's like, we need to shorten this up. So I took out a chapter, I think it was called Lap Dance 101, where I go to my first strip club. And it was not really one of those strip clubs that's like classy. I mean, I don't know if there's a such thing as a classy strip club, but there are classes of strip clubs.
Right.
But this was like more like your bottom of the barrel one, I think. I don't know. I haven't been to a lot, but it was not what you would think. I don't know. It was like the worst case scenario. And I had never been to one before. And I just remember sitting there trying to eat my quesadilla and drink my Corona and staring at these women like speechless. I mean, I had nothing to say. My jaw was just on the floor, and I was like, I'm trying not to stare, but I can't stop looking. This is so awkward. So there was a whole chapter in there, but we ended up taking that one out because it was less about my body and more about other people's, and kind of like just the scene of what was going on. And then another one that I ended up cutting was when I find out that I'm pregnant with my second son. And the reason that I ended up taking that one out is for me, when I was rereading it, it just didn't feel like there was enough new information. And when I first started writing this book, I think a lot of it was I was writing it more for me than I was writing it for actually someone to read. And I really had to like put myself in the reader's shoes and go, what are they going to learn from this chapter? And it just didn't feel like it was meaty enough. So we ended up cutting that one too.
Yeah. So what do you find, what was the most difficult part, do you think, of the book for you to write?
So I would say 95% of the book was comedy, and that I was really like in my zone and really just, it came easy to me. But I think the chapter V Goes Dark, where I write about my ectopic pregnancy and miscarriage, was probably the most challenging, because I wanted to still tap into some of the dark humor and some of those really raw and honest feelings and emotions that were happening during that time. But I also wanted to be really respectful of my baby and of my husband and the experience that we actually had. So I tried to really bring all that emotion and really go back to that time of like looking in the toilet and seeing your baby there, that's supposed to be inside of you growing and no longer is. And how did I feel? And that was tough. It was tough to go back to that place and really allow myself to put all of that on paper. But I had to share that, because not all of our experiences with our vagina are roses and unicorns, like there's plenty of dark spots. And I wanted to call that out too, so that it would really be very authentic.
Yeah, and I think it made the story very, very real and very, rounded out. It wasn't just all, fun and games growing up. You talked about some serious, things there.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that it's easier or harder for girls these days growing up? So many of these experiences that you talked about, now we've got, between the internet and social media and the 24-hour news and all of that. Do you think girls go through the, similar things?
I think it's really hard to say, because I think in some respects it is easier, and in other respects it is much more complicated. So, we're in a culture and a society today where people are a little more sexual. Like it's not quite as taboo. I mean, I remember growing up, that song from Salt and Pepper came out that was Let's Talk About Sex. And it was like, oh my gosh, turn that off the radio with my mom in the car. Like, oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. Where like nowadays, you almost can't find a song that isn't about sex. So
yeah, sure.
In some respects, I think it just makes it a little more commonplace. But I still think it's just as challenging. And now with, social media and the internet, I don't know, I can just imagine some kid snapping a picture of a girl who got her period and got something on her jeans. And next thing you know, she's the laughingstock of the school because the whole world saw that picture. So I don't have like a straight answer. Like, yeah, I think it's easier. I think it's harder. I just think it's different. There's different challenges that we have to deal with. And it depends a lot too on your family. Like, do you have a mom that's really open and talking about these things? Or is your mom just like, yep, don't want to talk, no vaginas here, and then you're just left to your own devices and hope that somebody gives you information. So.
Right. I agree. So you did say that, in terms of the title of the book, so did you ever consider having it be a more traditional title, or, was that really, you were all in for?
I was kind of all in. I was like, go big or go home kind of thing, and I know some people were like, I don't know, do you need like the subtitle too? Like, is it too much? Like, should you just stop at the ins and outs of my vagina? And I was like, I don't know. I feel like this is going to sell. Like, people are just going to see this and be like, and get it. And I have to say, in a lot of the Facebook groups that I'm part of, the writing communities that I'm part of, they have all really gravitated to the title. So I'm glad that I stuck to my guns and stuck with it.
Yeah, I love the chapter titles, and so it all goes completely with the title.
Yes.
So it's definitely fun, but you definitely talk about some serious things, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you said that it took you a while to write this. Did you find your author's voice fairly quickly, or did that take time?
Yeah, I'll say it took some time, because it took me 12 years to actually get the whole thing done. But I think honestly, when I first started writing, again, it was more of like almost like a diary. Like, I went to Myrtle Beach. I stayed in a room with 6 guys. Well, I didn't. There were 6 guys next to us. I stayed in the room with the 6 girls. But, we had a adjoining balcony and we got drunk and had a keg party. And it was like, it was bad. Like, it was not readable. It was not really a story. But once I got serious about actually writing it, I enlisted my cousin, who is an English teacher. And I was like, he's a 50-year-old guy. And I sent him a draft and he was like, he sent me a message the next morning and he's like, I stayed up all night and read this on my cell phone. He's like, I couldn't put it down. He's like, you're going to be on Oprah. And I was like, okay, I don't think she has a show anymore, but from your mouth.
She might on some other cable station, but
yeah.
right.
So Oprah, if you're listening, I'm available. But when he bought into it and was like, oh my gosh, he's like, yeah, I can absolutely help you. I can help you fix your tenses. I can help you like develop some of your characters more. I was like, wow, I actually might have something here. And then when I hired my editor, I remember sending him the first chapter revisions after he reviewed it and sent it back to me. And he came back and said, oh my gosh, he's like, your comments were all spot on. You took all my feedback, really seamlessly put it in. He's like, I work with professional authors who don't, respond this well to the first round of revisions. And he just kept praising my writing, like the first couple of chapters. And I was like, wow, I'm like, I don't know, I might actually be good at this. This is amazing. Okay. I guess I am an author. And so I would say once I got into the zone, it came very quickly, but it took me a while to get to the zone.
Right. So did you, like when you were writing, did you think of any other books or any other authors that kind of gave you inspiration?
Yeah, so I honestly don't read a ton of books. Like most of the books I'm reading are business books or self-help books, which are totally different tone, than my memoir. And I read a lot of children's books because I have kids. So,
right.
I get like some Harry Potter and stuff like that, Dog Man, big fan of Dog Man. So those are kind of the things that I'm usually exposed to. So not a ton, but I think one of the people who did have impact on me, and I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, but it's Margot Leitman or Lightman. I'm not sure, but she's a comedian and she wrote a book called Long Story Short. And it's all about how to be a better storyteller. And as I started reading her book, I realized like, oh, I need to be applying this to my memoir. Like I need to be, developing my characters in this type of way and referring to them, in a way that like one example I can give you is when I'm talking about my ballet teacher, I talk about how he looked like the guy from Can't Believe It's Not Butter commercial, and his like blonde hair is wafting across the floor as he floats over to me to correct me in my dance class. And like that was a direct line that I inserted as a result of reading her book. So I think that's probably the extent of the inspiration. It's very much like my personality on paper. So I think it was just a lot of my own influence, really, more than anything.
Right. Were there things, so you did mention you didn't put everything in, but were there any things that you originally had in that you decided to not include in the final book?
Not anything from a perspective of like, oh, I can't really share that. I don't, actually, that's not true. There was a line that my editor inserted where he said something about my husband having a male feeble brain and he couldn't take watching Sex in the City. And I was like, it's funny and I get it, but I'm like, I don't love to male bash personally. Like I'm very happily married. I say this all the time. Like I love my husband. I love guys. I mean, I'm a mom of 2 boys. Like obviously I love guys. And so I really try to stay away. Like I think women can rise up and be successful without tearing the other gender down. That's just my 2 cents. And so I ended up removing the word male, but I left feeble brain. So I allowed that joke to stay, but it was something I kind of noodled on because I also didn't want to present him in a light where he wasn't capable of, I mean, he doesn't want to watch my shows anyway, but I just didn't want to present him in a light that made him look bad either, because he's an amazing husband. He helps me with the dishes, he cooks, he cleans. I'm very fortunate in that respect.
So what would you say, because obviously you were talking about all these very personal things.
Yeah.
So were there, what did you find was the most difficult part to be really totally honest about?
Well, certainly some of the early sexual experiences that I had with people outside of my husband, more so because I was like, oh my gosh, I hope my parents don't read this book.
Have they?
Well, no, my mom has not read it yet. She
Okay.
wants to. I have a copy sitting here that's supposed to go for her, but I'm sort of holding off sending it in hopes of delaying that. But I think that, it's just anytime you're being honest and transparent about something that's happened to you in your body, like it is very hard to put that out there, and not be worried about being judged. Because that's really what it is, right? It's like, what are people going to think of me? What are they going to let their kids hang out with my kids now? Or are they going to think, bad things about me? But it's honestly just the stuff that's happening in everyone's household when the lights go out, but we're just not talking about it.
Well, that's why I appreciate the honesty, because as I said, some of these things I'm like, well, I don't know. Does it happen to other people? I don't know.
Right.
So now speaking, since V is character, do you see any kind of a sequel, like maybe V in menopause or something?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's funny because a lot of the women have been binging the book and they read it in like 48 hours and they're like, I need another one. Like, where's the next one? So there's definitely a cry for a sequel, definitely thinking around the menopause stuff. My husband gave me a card at my book launch signing that said he hopes he can be inspiration for me to have a sequel. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on that.
So actually, I mean, this time is going so quickly, but I have one last question for you. What do you like, in your wildest dreams, what do you really hope that readers take away from the book? Obviously you've got, a title that really draws attention, and people might wonder, but it's very meaty. I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect when I started to read it, but there's so much in there. So what do you hope that readers really take away from the book?
Yeah, definitely that camaraderie. Like, you are not alone. This happens to all women, and to speak up for what you need and want in life, right? So whether it's around something medical, like when I got the UTI, like going to the doctor and speaking up about what's happening to your body, or if it's with your partner, like, hey, I am not having enough orgasms in this relationship. Like, I need a better sex life, and not attacking the other person, right? Not putting blame on the other person.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I think so many women are playing the comparison game, right? We're looking at social media. We're seeing these amazing things that people post, the highlight reel, right? Cause that's all anybody ever posts on social is the great things that happen to them. And so we look at that and go, oh my gosh, they look like they're having such a romantic relationship, or she's, with a different guy all the time, or like whatever it is, the thing that you kind of want that you're looking at. And it's like, that's not necessarily their reality, right? They might not even be having an orgasm. So then is it even worth it? I don't know. I'd argue it's not, but they're not going to tell you that. You know what I mean? They're not going to tell you that they're depressed or empty or still searching for the right person or whatever. I'm not saying all women are doing that, but like, all that stuff is hidden. So let's start having these conversations. Let's stop comparing ourselves to each other and just be confident in who we are.
Well, I love the honesty, and actually I have not had children, but I love the part about being pregnant, having children, all of that, because it was so honest. And, so I love that.
Thank you.
So, I can't believe that we're already out of time. But I want to thank you so much, Karin, for joining us. This has been so much fun. And I just want to let the viewers out there know that if they'd like to read more about the book, before reading the book, we have a great book review on BookTrib.com. So you can check it out. Again, the name of the book is The Ins and Outs of My Vagina. And also to learn more about you, they can visit your website. And so your website is KarinFreeland.com, but Karin, Karin.
Yes.
Freeland.com. And I really want to thank you so much for joining us. This has been so much fun.
This has been. And if I could just say one last thing, too, I want to make sure viewers know that for every copy sold, I'm going to be donating a portion of the proceeds to Alliance for Period Supplies to help end period poverty. So you're not just, buying a great book and having fun. You're also going to be making a difference in another woman's life who can't afford period products. So it's a book with a cause.
Wonderful, Karin. I love that.
Thank you. you.
Well, thank you so much. I so enjoyed meeting you. I
Me
so
too.
enjoyed reading the book. Everyone go out there, get the book, read the book, and it's fabulous. So
Thank
again,
you.
thank you so much for joining us on BookTrib.com on Facebook, and have a great day. And I loved meeting you.
Thank you.
so
Me
much.
too. Appreciate
Bye.
everybody joining.
Bye, everyone.